Sitting in the quiet corner of my kitchen, I am enveloped in memories of laughter and warmth, memories of my son, David. The family photographs lining the wall capture moments of joy, a chubby-cheeked toddler beaming at his birthday cake, the sunshine pouring through the window as we curled up on the floor to read stories. Those tender moments feel like a different life, one marked by a bond that now appears frayed. I recall my sacrifices, working long hours while balancing the demands of motherhood. I made fresh muffins for breakfast before the demands of the day swept us into the rush of life. I remember the pride in his eyes after a soccer match where I cheered the loudest, his face smeared with spaghetti sauce, exclaiming, "You're the best chef ever, Mom." In those moments, I learned the ache of love, a delicate balance between nurturing and letting go. As David grew older, our connection seemed to twinkle and fade like shadows lengthening at dusk. The last hug I shared as I left him at college is etched in my mind, a bittersweet farewell that tugged at my heart. I thought that the distance could be bridged by love alone, but I soon learned the harsh truth. Megan entered our lives with her own bright smile and a sense of confidence that initially drew me in. Welcoming her with open arms, I prepared her favorite dish, lasagna, layered to perfection. But the joyful camaraderie quickly dulled as I caught the subtle undertones in her remarks. "David needs to modernize his taste," she stated with an air of disdain after yet another dinner where I tried to connect. Each passing day, it seemed that Megan wielded power over our family dynamics. I began to notice how she belittled my approach to parenting, suggesting that my ways were outdated. It stung like a sharp crack, my heart struggling to process the change. Those Sunday dinners, once vibrant and filled with warmth, became strained occasions, each meal a test of my endurance against her increasingly dismissive remarks. David would sit silently, his eyes darting from one of us to the other, a painful reflection of mixed loyalties. Amidst the mundane moments of cooking, I would rummage through my mind for recollections of our laughter. The fragrances of roasted chicken mingled with the melody of our conversations. Now I find myself lost in a fog, those echoes becoming distant as Megan established her dominance. I embrace my teacup, the warmth offering a fleeting comfort, yet the coldness of the reality washes over me. I feel the wounds of rejection deeper with every passing moment, but within that pain, a new resolve blooms. I cannot allow the bond we once nurtured to be severed silently, nor can I drift into the background of a family that I have given everything to support. From this point forward, I will take a stand. I will redirect the narrative, reclaiming my dignity as David's mother. Shadows of abandonment may loom large, but I will not be reduced to a whisper. I will step into the light, ready to confront the truth. The turning point came in the form of a wedding invitation that fluttered into my mailbox one brisk autumn day, adorned with elegant calligraphy. "Join us to celebrate the union of David and Megan." The joy of the announcement quickened my heart, but the excitement was muted by the gnawing anxiety lurking in my mind. The wedding day dawned with brilliant sun, mirroring my hope for a beautiful family future. As I slipped into my favorite dress, a soft blue that complemented my skin, I dreamed of dancing the night away with David, sharing sugary smiles with our family. But the day unfolded with a knot tightening in my stomach. Megan radiated confidence, her laugh like music to those around her, while I could feel her underlying contempt caught on the wind. During the ceremony, she donned a frosty smile as she vowed to love David, yet a flicker of something darker danced in her eyes whenever she glanced my way. A foreboding realization crept in. My once warm place in this family was now teetering on the edge. As my son and I shared the dance floor for the first time as mother and son, I felt every twirl and dip slip further away from our cherished bond. Megan hovered nearby, her gaze slicing through my motherly pride. David's laughter turned brittle, his eyes darting towards her every few moments, a silent negotiation unfolding between love and obligation. Each twirl became heavier, the words, "I love you, Mom," growing more strained. In the months following the wedding, the unease I felt escalated. Sunday dinners continued, now a battleground for my dignity. The air was laden with expectations of smiling faces, of laughter, but every interaction raised a barrier between us. Megan would make little jabs, each draped in silk. "Eleanor, that should be refashioned if it's going to keep up with times," she once remarked, inspecting my floral tablecloth as if it were an outdated relic. My careful preparation was reduced to mere dust. Week by week, I began to notice the cracks widening. The children, Nathan and Lily, hardly knew me. Their faces lit up when they saw me. Momentary glimpses of joy amidst their mother's quiet steering to distance them from my presence. I dared not push too hard. Their affection was my anchor, after all. But watching their eyes glaze over during family gatherings as conversations turned bitter drew a painful line across my heart. One evening, I decided to host a family game night, desperate to create an avenue for joy. Pizza, board games, and laughter. But as the evening unfolded, the cracks I felt widened into chasms. Megan made up excuses to keep Nathan busy, shoving him gently towards her side, orchestrating the evening as a delicate dance of exclusion. Their laughter rang hollow, mirroring the divided spaces in my heart. "Grandma, can we go play?" came Lily's small voice, tugging at my sleeve. The sweetness of her request contrasted sharply with the tension in the room. Yet Megan swooped in, her smile tight as she ushered them into a different room. "They'll be back soon, Eleanor," she said, her voice assertive, her hand firmly planted at the small of Lily's back. In those quiet moments of isolation, the smells of pizza turned sour within me, rancid reminders of my position as an outsider in my own family. Something within me cracked that night, but I couldn't allow myself to break entirely. I had sacrificed too much for my son, for this family. Once everyone left, I stood alone amid the remnants of the evening, half-eaten slices, overturned game pieces, and a silence that settled like fog. My heart ached as I realized David's absence, his very presence, distilled down to a shadow of the boy I once held so close. I flipped through the photographs of laughter and love once again, trying to stitch together a narrative of hope, but it all felt just out of reach. Even Ruth, my sister, sensed the unease that fouled the air. The following week, during one of our coffee sessions, she leaned close, her voice a whisper. "You have to be careful, Eleanor. You deserve to be treated with respect. Don't let her undermine your worth." Her words lingered, a resonance in my mind. I knew in my heart I had to act, but how? I took to my garden, my sanctuary, the fresh scent of dirt and vibrant blooms grounding me. I found solace as I tended to my flowers, imagining the resilience they embodied. They pushed through dirt and darkness, blossoming towards the sun. Yet still, I felt the looming presence of Megan, darkening my attempts at connection and filling my heart with uncertainty. It was time to gather strength, to want more for myself and for my grandchildren. I decided that beneath the hurt, there was a glimmer of truth waiting to be found. I wouldn't remain a passive observer in my family's life any longer. I would reclaim my role and demand recognition, not just for me, but for the love that our family was built on. As I observed the petals opening to greet the sun, my resolve solidified. I needed clarity, and the first step toward that was uncovering my daughter-in-law's true intentions, her manipulation woven into every interaction. I would prepare my heart and my mind. In the days that followed my quiet revelations in the garden, a deep determination took root within me. I refused to let Megan dictate who I was. It was time to reclaim my dignity and rightful place within the family. I crafted a plan, intertwining my intentions into every interaction with the hope of mending the frayed bond with my son, David. I began by revisiting memories cherished long enough to still feel fresh. My first step was to create an opportunity for connection. I invited David over for coffee, just the two of us, desperate to remind him of the joy we once experienced as mother and son. I prepared his favorite snack, grilled cheese sandwiches paired with warm tomato soup, the aroma swirling through the house like the laughter we once shared. On the day of our gathering, I rearranged the living room for an inviting atmosphere, scattering our family photographs across the table, reminders of love frozen in time. Anticipation thrummed in my veins as I imagined David entering my home, the familiar smile lighting up his face. When David arrived, the door creaked open to reveal a face still glimmering with the traces of the little boy I had raised. As we settled into conversation, I felt the stirring of hope with every moment that passed. I poured the soup, and he laughed softly, the sound a balm to my aching heart. "Remember that time we tried to catch fish at the lake with our bare hands?" I asked, nudging at the nostalgia. A smile lit his face as he recounted the hilarity of our muddy escapade. I relished this connection but knew we needed to tread carefully into deeper waters. "How are you and Megan settling into married life?" I probed gently, my heart racing as I waited for his response. His gaze flickered, uncertainty shadowing his features. "It's an adjustment, but we're managing." His words dripped with ambivalence, and I felt a mix of encouragement and concern. I needed to press further, to open the door for honest conversations. After some light banter, I leaned in, using a tone that matched his vulnerability. "I just want to be part of your lives, David. I want to help however I can." The silence that followed was heavy with tension, but our connection was palpable. David held my gaze, his eyes momentarily shimmering with consideration. I began fearing that our bond was slipping back into the shadows, but he quickly assured me with a nod, "I'll keep that in mind, Mom." The warm exchange soothed me, but I knew there was still a chasm between us. After weeks of thought, I decided to invite Megan for tea, just the two of us. I meticulously prepared the living room, brightening it with fresh flowers from my garden. Every detail was intended to remind her of the love I had for David and her role in our family. Arriving at her door, I felt my resolve waver slightly. Would she listen? I took a steadying breath as I rang the doorbell, reminding myself of my mantra. They can mute me at the table, but never in my heart. Megan greeted me with surprise laced with wariness, but I held steady. As we settled at the sunlit table, I poured her tea, gesturing to the garden blooms. "What do you think of the new arrangements?" The casual tone belied the tension underlying our conversation. "They're lovely, but you know it's important to keep things in perspective," she replied, her smile tight as she inspected my work. I sensed the wall building between us, but pressed on, determined. "I want to share my life with you and David. I'd like us to include one another, to make space for a family bond that transcends tension." A flicker of annoyance crossed Megan's face, and I quickly seized the moment. "It's important to me that we foster respect and understanding. As David's mother, I want to be part of your journey together." Though the words hung heavy, I was resolute, laying bare my truth in a way I had not dared previously. Megan's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing her discomfort. "We're busy establishing our life, Eleanor. It's about adapting. Her assertion hung in the air like an unwelcome gust, yet I held tight, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and courage. Adapting shouldn't erode our love and respect for one another. I cherish my role as David's mother, and I want to include you in that, not sideline you. Megan's expression twisted, veering into something darker. I could sense her resistance surging, but I refused to back down. The tension could not deter my desire for unity. As our tea cooled, I marveled at the earlier warmth and connection I had noticed with David. It urged me forward. This plan of mine was just beginning. After our tepid confrontation, Megan departed, but I remained steadfast in my resolve. I knew this initial meeting was merely an introduction, signaling the need for ongoing dialogue. I had planted the seed of recognition and respect for my place in this family. Slowly, I would weave a tapestry of connection. As I watched her retreat, my heart swelled. I might have felt like a pawn in a game, but now I understood that I would no longer settle for the sidelines. My journey to reclaim my dignity, my place as a mother, and the love of my family had only just begun. Days rolled into weeks, and a sense of determination fueled my interactions with David and Megan. I knew I had begun a delicate dance, both hopeful and afraid of what the next steps might bring. Yet something lived within me now, an unshakable resolve that dared me to dig deeper into the complexities of our family's dynamics. I started to pay closer attention, noting Megan's behavior more acutely as she oscillated between charm and hostility. Each time David and I shared a moment, I searched the crevices of his expression for signs of his struggle, a mix of loyalty to me, his mother, and the new commitments he had made to Megan. The way his eyes glossed over when he left the dinner table, or how his laughter sometimes felt forced, was no longer lost on me. One afternoon, in an attempt to strengthen my relationship with David, I suggested a simple family outing to the park. Perhaps an engaging environment would ease the weight of our recent exchanges and allow us to reconnect. I even managed to coax him into inviting Megan, thinking the playful atmosphere would melt any ice between us. We settled beneath a sprawling oak, the leaves dancing with the breeze and casting dappled shadows upon our picnic blanket. As we devoured homemade sandwiches, I swept through small talk about the children, their school projects, and weekend plans. Meanwhile, I carefully observed Megan's body language, each nuance whispering secrets of her demeanor. "Have you picked out any new recipes for us to try?" David jokingly asked, a familiar sparkle in his eye. Instead of answering, I felt Megan's expression harden, and I focused on her closely. "Not if you're still in charge of the kitchen," she said, a sardonic grin flitting across her lips. "Maybe we should reconsider your specialties." I felt the sting of her words slicing through the moment. David shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension rise, yet he remained silent, casting me an apologetic glance. I kept a calm front, assuring myself that this was my opportunity to uncover the layers of Megan's manipulation, the games she played behind that polished facade. Afterward, as I observed David navigating the choppy waters of our interaction, it dawned on me that I had allowed Megan's presence to manipulate our family connections. Instead of confronting her directly, I needed to gather evidence subtly, to explore how her remarks seduced David's approval while undermining my role. The idea of methodically collecting details became my obsession. The next step in my investigation took form during a phone call with Ruth, my sister, in which I sought perspective and insight. Over warm cups of tea, I shared my experiences and frustrations. "I feel like there's an invisible wall around David, and Megan's carefully orchestrating our interactions," I confessed, biting the inside of my cheek. Ruth pondered. You may want to take note of how often she tends to steer conversations or deflect you entirely. Inspired by her words, I decided to keep a journal, my observations woven into its pages. I noted specific instances during our gatherings that illustrated Megan's patterns, her dismissive tone, the looks exchanged between her and David, and how I became the unwelcome guest amid my own family bonfires. Days turned into weeks, and my journal, once blank, filled up with details, painting a vivid picture of the escalating conflict. I captured how she manipulated David's sentiments, subtly enforcing silencing rules that cornered him into playing the role of peacemaker. It broke my heart further to realize that with every interaction, my son seemed to become more entrenched in her world, a world I feared would entirely erase my mark on him. I organized an open dinner invitation at my home to bring light to the collective strains we faced. As I set the dining table, I allowed my memories to surface, reflecting on the delicious meals I used to make, nights filled with laughter, stories echoing against the walls. The aromas filled the air with therapeutic warmth, a visceral reminder of what family meant to me. As we gathered around the table that evening, I glanced at Megan, hoping to invite her to participate, only to find her already withdrawn, fiddling with her phone. Throughout the meal, I strategically intertwined moments of familial connection with pointed questions aimed at David. Megan, have you introduced David to your favorite childhood recipes yet? I asked. The smile on her face faltered, but she quickly regained composure, an unreadable glimmer gracing her gaze. Not yet. Cooking has gone on the back burner while we settle in. She looked pointedly at me, a hint of challenge laced in her tone. Our discussion flickered over various topics, but I directed the spotlight towards shared memories, hoping to spur David's recognition of our history. You remember the time we baked those cookies for the charity fair, David? I strove to bridge the silent gulf between us. Megan quickly interjected. I think it's more fun to try new things, right, David? Her deflection was calculated, meant to undermine my attempts to evoke warm memories. The pressure built in my chest as I saw David falter, caught between two worlds, one filled with loyalty, the other the obligations pressed on him. The dinner concluded chaotically. Voices raised in laughter obscured the mist of simmering tension, an uncomfortable mix, but I reaffirmed my commitment. I needed to continue gathering insights, my journal expanding into a chronicler of realization. As days turned into an intricate web of meal prep and emotional investment, I sat down one quiet evening, leafing through my notes. I concluded that I was ready to confront Megan. The plan would entail unveiling what I had witnessed and experienced, not through aggression, but through resolution, shining a light on the tangled cords that bound us together. With conviction stirring within me, I told myself, I am worthy of love and respect. I can step into the light. Saidam, I would no longer be just a specter at the table. I knew Megan had manipulated our family dynamics, but I was ready to challenge her narrative and reclaim my voice, the role of a mother filled with dignity amidst the chaos. The moment of confrontation loomed ahead, yet I felt surprisingly steady. With each entry in my journal, I was laying the groundwork for my truth, carefully stitching together the narrative of my rightful place in our family. I would not be silent any longer. The time had come to reclaim my role and face Megan directly, armed with evidence of her manipulation. After careful consideration, I decided to host another dinner, a gathering designed not just to share food, but to unearth hidden tensions. I would invite David, Megan, and Ruth, a small assembly of allies who might help balance the scales. My heart raced with a mix of hope and trepidation as I prepared, I spent the day in the kitchen, the familiar scents rising up to form a warm cocoon around me. The vibrant colors from the vegetables and the comforting smell of roast chicken wrapped me in a soothing embrace. As I prepped, I couldn't help but think of how cooking had always served as an expression of love in our family, an art form through which I offered my care and support. As the clock crept closer to our dinner hour, I set the table meticulously, layering it with delicate plates adorned with floral designs and my finest crystal glasses. I wanted to create a sanctuary where love could flourish, where mutual respect reached beyond the fraying edges of our relationships. When David and Megan arrived, I could tell immediately that the air was charged. Megan's posture was closed, arms crossed defensively, as David moved past her. I caught his gaze, soft yet vulnerable, and I sensed the weight of the conversations that had gone unspoken between us. While we gathered around the table, I cautiously initiated light-hearted chatter, recounting trivial moments that reminded us of our shared past. I watched as David relaxed into the atmosphere, but every time I observed Megan's eyes flicker to him, assessing our connection, I felt a tightening around my heart. "Megan," I began tentatively after the main course, "how do you feel about carving out some family traditions? We have some beautiful ones from when David was growing up." I needed her to understand that our familial ties were not optional accessories, but the fabric of our existence. At my words, she inhaled sharply, her brow furrowing. "Why would we revisit old traditions? We should pave our new path," she retorted, each syllable weighted with subtext. David glanced sideways, concern flitting across his face. "Mom, maybe we can find a balance, both old and new?" I felt a surge of appreciation for David in that moment, but Megan's sharp reply sent an icy shadow across my thoughts. "That's fine, David, but maybe we should focus on our new memories instead. Keep things moving forward." The tension simmered, threatening to boil over as I prepared to switch gears. This wasn't just a conversation, it was a reckoning. "Listen, Megan," I said, injecting urgency into my tone. "You are undoubtedly a significant part of our family, and this is not an attack on you. But I need you to see how your comments have put a wedge between us. David deserves to cherish the roots he has, not feel like he has to choose between us." A crackle of surprise coursed through the room. Perhaps I had finally cornered her, challenged her perception of dominance. I continued, my voice strong yet composed. "I've spent a lifetime investing in David's upbringing, nurturing our bond, and fostering a sense of love and continuity. My hope is for us to leverage that, enrich our tapestry." Megan's expression faltered, caught off guard. Silent fury pulsed in her eyes as she carefully placed her fork down. "You're implying I'm trying to erase you, that I'm the villain here?" "Not a villain, but you have to acknowledge the consequences of your words. They are distinct from what I believe is nurturing." I struggled to keep my voice steady, the undeniable knots of tension in the air squeezing me. David remained silent, torn between the two walls he found himself wedged between. Beneath the surface, I could see the turmoil, my son's loyalty warring with the looming presence of conflict. Gazing at him now made my heart throb with desperation. "David," I said softly, hoping to reach his core. "I love you," I emphasized, "and I want to protect our space, our shared memories that shaped us. This is not just about Megan and me, it's about weaving our family together." His eyes filled with apprehension, and he finally looked squarely at me, his expression torn. "Mom, I just want peace. Peace requires understanding," I interrupted, inviting his vulnerability to seep through the walls he had erected. "Megan, take a moment and consider. You have the power to build bridges instead of walls. Let's talk about your feelings. open the dialogue instead of dismissing it all. It stung. Her response felt manipulative, a means to keep control. Tears brimmed in her eyes, but there was no sign of concession. Only a fragment of regret shimmered on her face. "I just wanted a fresh start," she said, voice quaking. "This is my chance to construct my family. Isn't that what everyone wants? Starting anew doesn't mean we dismiss the past. It's essential to acknowledge it." In that moment, realization hovered in the air around us, charged with tension. I understood now. This was the turning point, the moment where the tangled cords of our interactions either unraveled or we found a way to weave together the fabric of our family anew. As we sat there, uncomfortable silence enveloping us, I realized how crucial it was to regard Megan's aspirations while asserting my place. The tears pooling in her eyes were evidence of her struggles, reflecting my own. And perhaps, just perhaps, there was space for healing in the fray. "We can coexist," I concluded softly, surrendering just a little. "Support each other. There is love here, and it starts with the willingness to recognize that none of us stands alone." David's hand reached for mine, his grip a comfort as Megan blinked, her defenses crumbling, if only for an instant. She looked between us, as if faced with a choice she had never considered, one that invited vulnerability instead of isolation. As our dinner concluded, I felt a flicker of hope amidst the chaos, a glimmer of possibility hovering between us. This confrontation might just lead us toward a pathway back to unity, away from the bleakness we had wrestled against. In that moment, I reaffirmed my internal mantra, strong and unyielding. They can mute me at the table, but never in my heart. It resonated within me, the foundation of strength I now stood upon, ready to engage, advocate for my truth, and embrace whatever was to come. The days that followed our family dinner were both hopeful and charged with tension. Megan's tear-filled eyes and David's comforting touch replayed in my mind, reminding me of the pivotal moment we had shared. It made me realize that we were standing on the edge of transformation. Whether it would lead us to unity or isolation remained uncertain. While I felt the weight of that uncertainty, a flicker of determination ignited within me. I knew I needed to step into my role as a mother with renewed purpose, drawing from memories of my own mother, who balanced warmth and strength in tumultuous relationships. I set my plan into motion. It was time for a constructive gathering, one that could inspire connection while also confronting the difficult emotions simmering beneath the surface. A family picnic emerged as the ideal idea, a chance to foster joy in a beautiful setting. I envisioned a picnic at the park, a day where laughter could drown out bitterness, where we could bond through playful activities instead of struggles and hostility. After considering the logistics, I drafted a cheerful invitation. "Let's have a family day at the park. Bring your favorite snacks and let's play some games." I hoped its casual and inviting tone would entice Megan to join and perhaps lower her defenses. As the Saturday approached, excitement mingled with uncertainty. I spent the day before prepping lovingly crafted treats, lavender lemon scones, blueberry muffins, and colorful fruit salad. Each bite was infused with my hopes for connection, a tangible representation of the love I wanted to rekindle. On the day of the picnic, the sun bathed the park in a golden glow, a radiant landscape inviting us into its embrace. I arrived early, spreading out our picnic blanket and arranging the delicious spread. The sense of baked goods and fresh fruit drifted in the air, creating a warm cocoon that felt like home. As David and Megan approached, I steeled myself for their arrival, hoping that the atmosphere I had created would help melt away the tension that usually enveloped our interactions. Although they wore light smiles, I sensed underlying apprehension, the kind that often hung above us like a dense fog. Once settled, I initiated casual conversation, inquiring about their week, sharing stories of old as I encouraged them to indulge in the treats. I thought these might remind us of the fun we used to have during family picnics, I stated playfully, aware of the significance of shared memories. Megan hesitated as she took a scone, her shoulders rigid as if bracing for impact. Yet my determination pushed me forward. After the meal, I proposed a game of frisbee, hoping the light-hearted activity would distract from the underlying tensions. "Let's play, just like when David was little. It'll be fun." With some coaxing, Megan finally agreed, albeit reluctantly. The moment we began, laughter erupted, echoing through the park. I threw the frisbee, relishing in the simplicity of the game, watching as David sprinted to catch it, his joyous laughter ringing out like soft music. For a while, there was nothing but carefree fun. As the game unfolded, I noticed Megan's laughter becoming more genuine as she engaged more fully, at times even teasing David in affection. The tension started to ease, allowing us to enjoy the moment freely. But still, I remained acutely aware of the deeper issues that simmered silently beneath our playful exchanges. As daylight began to fade, I sensed it was time to address the unspoken tension in the air. We gathered in a circle on the grass, surrounded by remnants of discarded plastic cups and scattered snack wrappers. There was a certain comfort in this informal setting that felt oddly intimate despite the lingering apprehensions. "Megan," I started, my tone transitioning from playful to earnest, "I appreciate our time together today and the laughter we've shared. I think it's important that we address the underlying issues affecting us." I chose my words carefully, aware of the precariousness of our situation. She glanced at me, eyes revealing a flicker of vulnerability amidst her usual defiance. "I appreciate today, Eleanor, but I want to reinforce our boundaries. I don't want to lose what we are building," she replied, her voice steady but tinged with fear. "Of course, it's not about dismantling our progress, it's about merging our histories," I emphasized, feeling the weight of significance in my words. "I'm here to be a loving mother and a supportive presence, but we must acknowledge our past to build a future together." David observed quietly, and I caught a glimpse of hope reflected in his eyes as he leaned into that space between us. "Mom, I think we're all adjusting. It's natural to want to preserve what's important," he added, hinting at the bridge he was trying to build between Megan and me. Moments hung in the air as I observed their expressions, quietly sensing that perhaps they were beginning to see beyond their limited views. Megan's defenses began to wobble, that familiar hesitation dulled by the warmth we had shared that day. I urged them both gently. "This is about mutual respect and understanding. We can weave our family story together instead of letting it fragment." I let silence fill the gaps, hoping it would invite more courageous conversation. As the last rays of sunlight softened our surroundings, the importance of vulnerability loomed large. I felt the thin thread of connection begin to form between us, a cautious, delicate thread, but a connection nonetheless. When the picnic wrapped up, I witnessed the gradual shift. Maybe Jennifer was beginning to comprehend the significance of cooperation. As we packed up, David's hopeful gaze reassured me that there might be more to come. As I lay in bed that night, the warmth of the day lingered in my thoughts. I felt an invigorating sense of purpose take root. Reclaiming my dignity was a journey shaded with emotion and possibility. Each moment counted as we worked to bridge the distance in our family. Reminding myself of my mantra, I declared resolutely, "They can mute me at the table, but never in my heart." My mantra resonated deeply, guiding me as I braced for the next challenge, a journey toward transformation and connection. Days turned into weeks after our picnic, and I began to notice subtle changes in our family dynamic. Megan's demeanor softened, her smiles were less guarded, and David seemed more relaxed in our shared space. Yet, I understood that real transformation required ongoing effort, not just fleeting moments of connection. One afternoon, as I prepared dinner, the fragrance of garlic and rosemary filled the kitchen, comforting and familiar. I was chopping vegetables, each slice grounding me, reminding me of the love I had for my family. The rhythmic motion of my knife was calming, yet I felt a frisson of unease as a message notification lit up my phone. It was a group chat with Megan and David. I hesitated before opening it. I sensed a shift in tone in Megan's texts. I think we need a more realistic perspective on what's going on at home. Her words sparked irritation and concern, and I steeled myself for the impending confrontation. When David and Megan arrived, I could sense the tension palpably. David's worried expression suggested he had noticed my silence. "Mom, is everything okay?" he asked, glancing nervously between me and Megan. I invited them to sit at the kitchen table, its surface decorated with a fresh bouquet. "We need to talk," I stated, my heart racing. I couldn't back down now. This was an opportunity to confront the underlying issues. Megan took a deep breath, clearly wrestling with her feelings. "Things aren't as simple as they seem," she began, her voice firm but vulnerable. "Sometimes I feel undermined, as if my role is always secondary." Her admission struck me, reflecting the deep-rooted tensions that had been simmering. "Your feelings matter, Megan, and I want to understand exactly what you're feeling," I encouraged, hoping to keep the conversation from spiraling into defensiveness. "I just want to build my own family, but feel like I'm stepping on your toes," she confessed, her eyes revealing a mix of anger and sorrow. "It often feels like an uphill battle to fit in." I absorbed her words, realizing this was a critical moment. "Megan, change doesn't erase our past. It's about how we deal with it," I replied, striving for compassion. "We can build a new family dynamic that honors everyone," David interjected, looking hopeful. "It's essential we all share our perspectives. Let's try to see things from each other's viewpoints." His willingness to bridge the divide infused the air with a sense of potential. I felt a fragile thread of connection begin to form, and I embraced it. "What if we made a pact, a commitment to share our truths openly, even when it's difficult?" My voice steadied with purpose. Megan nodded, her defenses wavering. "I think I can resonate with that. I want us to feel safe expressing ourselves," she said, her determination faltering, but her vulnerability shining through. As we navigated into deeper truths, a palpable sense of hope filled the space around us. Each revelation, each admission wove us closer together, allowing us to confront the challenges instead of shying away from them. In that moment, I reaffirmed my internal mantra, the guiding star of our journey. "They can mute me at the table, but never in my heart." I could feel its strength anchoring me as we moved forward, marking a significant turning point in our relationship. With each passing moment, we inched toward a delicate understanding, revealing the complexities of our family story without fear of judgment. As the evening unfolded, I began to truly believe that our collective courage could sow the seeds of transformation, inviting unity and healing into a once fractured bond. The conversation lingered, and the connection we forged sparked a renewed sense of possibility. As we further explored our feelings, I knew we were on the edge of something vital, ready to confront the past while embracing a shared future.